call, and then when the other panelists come, they can join in at the same time.
Am I audible enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I'll give a brief about myself. So I am Naveen Rai. Professionally, I'm architect, urban planner, and environment planner, and specializing in infrastructure planning. At the same time, I work with the government of Sikkim, and I'm in the domain of urban planning and governance development for last 18 years. 18 years. So, in fact, I'm very much delighted to be, moderating this session, having this distinguished panelists.
Your voice is dropping actually.
Okay.
ऑफिस में आएगा
Uh,
कौन से आपके ऑफिस
my
में
mutually, okay, now is it all right?
कैसे करेंगे
ये केबल है
So,
वहीं बैठना पड़ेगा
hello.
The small request to everyone. So I'll request everyone to mute their mic so that the disturbance is low and the person who is speaking can unmute themselves. The
Okay.
rest of them can put a mute to their mics.
Anyway,
Thank you.
meanwhile, I'll what do you call, continue. So I'm very delighted to be moderating this session with having this distinguished panel of panelists coming from different backgrounds and heading some of the cities as well as from the industry side. So today we are going to have a session with Mr. Anindo Roy, who is from the SAP, and Vivek Ogra from PwC, Smart Mobility. I mean, he seems to be looking after the smart mobility on the PwC. Madam Iti Pandey, who is a Chief Commercial Manager from the Central Railway, Government of India, and Madam Nikita Pao, Secretary, Department of Transport, Andaman and Nicobar Administrations, Dr. T. Arun, CEO, Puducherry Smart City Limited, Development Limited, Chetan Nandani, Deputy Commissioner, Rajkot and CEO Smart City, TN Mr. Nodal Officer, Moradabad Municipal Corporation, and Engineer Mobasir Dan with the ARTO, Motor Vehicles Department, Government of Jammu and Kashmir. So today's topic is basically, it looks like quite open, so connected and integrated ecosystem towards smart cities, whereby we should be focusing on the infrastructure, transportation, mobility, and role of ITMS in smart cities. So having said that, as we'll all know, transport and mobility is the crucial for the city to function, and it is also very important for a city to prioritize in the sector where we need to make as to how we can make city faster and or we can move city faster, more efficiently, and more providing more comfort to the citizens. Having said that, so there are many use case on the research as well as on the digital platform. So there is no dearth of or shortage of the technology, as I can see, having worked in this domain for last many years, and even from the inception of Smart City Mission, and having engaged with lots of other city outside the India. So, but coming back to the Indian context, so I hope that we'll be talking mostly about the Indian context and the challenges what we are facing in implementing these solutions, or even using these solutions within our organizations, or there are many spectrum of challenges as well as what do you call we have got avenues or scope where we can escalate or implement these kind of technologies, as well as maybe more. I'll be more interested to hear from the cities where they are focused or invested more on the mobility rather than transportation. So, in order to begin with, I think I'd like to invite Mr. Anindo Roy Das from SAP to put forth uh, with his opinion and carry forward this discourse. Hello, Anindo. Are you ready?
Yes, yes. I hope you can hear me, Mr. Naveen.
Yeah, I think you're audible to me. Uh,
Okay, great. So I'm just trying to share my screen because I just thought I'll keep two slides with me. Okay. Uh, so I thought I'll just use a few slides and I'll just share what is happening. Quickly introduce myself again. I'm part of SAP and I'm part of the public sector IBU with a focus on mobility, future cities, smart cities, all these topics. It's a very exciting space to be in, and particularly urban mobility is something that I've been focusing on for the past now 2 years, and there's so much happening. I thought it will be great if I can share some of things that I have learned and also give you a perspective of what's happening. So it is really a big picture out there. There's a lot of money that we spend globally. The figure is $7 trillion. This is, I think, this is not the most updated figure, probably a year old, but still, I thought I'll keep it there. And this does not include our air travel and our rail travel and everything. This is just the public transport globally. And there are so many players who are around this industry or around mobility. You have the OEMs like BMW, Ford, Volkswagen, the newly vertically integrated players like Tesla. Then you have these transport aggregators, Uber, Lyft, Grab, and of course you have our the unsung heroes so far, the passenger and rail and public transport authorities. So really the picture is big, and everyone is trying to what should I say, do something in order to make the mobility of a citizen within his city seamless, very comfortable, very nice, because those are the basic, or what should I say, mobility is one of the basic thing that a citizen requires. He requires a very comfortable way to reach from point A to point B and also have a return journey. What is really happening out there, when I said that there's a big picture, is there's something called as CASE. Everyone is talking about CASE, and CASE stands for connected, autonomous, shared, and electric. So there are electric vehicles. I think most of the OEMs are now coming. Even in India, I see a lot of OEMs are coming out with their e-mobility projects, and the government also making the push of procuring e-mobility. Shared mobility is really improving day by day. Of course, I think with the recent pandemic, little bit trends would have changed, but I'm sure once things limp back to normal or race back to normal, things are going to be where we had left them. So shared mobility is seen as a very interesting concept. And by shared mobility, it is not only the ride sharing apps, but also you sharing time of ownership of a car. We have connected mobility. This data was very interesting to me, that more than 80% vehicles sold today have built-in connectivity, so the OEM can actually monitor how the machine is functioning. And of course, autonomous. There's a lot of money being pumped into how autonomous mobility will look like and how it will function, how it will make the journey very comfortable, very safe, I would say. Now, the real question is, how do they make autonomous safe, and how do they make it legal? So I'm very excited to see what will happen. And where are these changes happening? Where are these taking place? They're mainly taking place in three industries. One is the automotive industry. One is the cities, and in cities, I like to include even the public transport authorities and everything. And of course, the utilities, because people are saying the new age of transportation is going to be all electric. The internal combustion engine is going to become obsolete, and the EV, electric vehicle, is going to become the new thing. And the intersection point is where people are actually looking at the new business opportunities over there. What are the trends that are really impacting the cities? What are the cities looking at? First of all, they are looking at supersonic mobility. Hyperloop, the Boring company, very interesting company, by the way. Then they are looking at seamless mobility within the city. They're talking about a single contact based card. They're talking about single bill for multiple modal of transportation. They're looking at subscription based mobility. I think the government is also coming down with regulations which will impact sustainability, banning ICE vehicles to a certain extent where possible, ban on vehicles in villages, in city centers, carbon neutral goals that cities are setting for themselves, no car zones within the very, very congested areas of the city. and percentage of recommended sales by an OEM of EV vehicles, so that the OEM doesn't stop pushing the EV vehicle or the manufacturing the EV vehicle. And of course, there's this crazy stuff also happening, the exciting stuff. Aerospace companies are talking about eVTOL, that is vertical takeoff or landing, which is going to be the concept of flying taxis and everything, robot taxis. And companies are actually working on that. Airbus, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, Geely, all of them are there working on this. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But coming back to the city part, what I really see will happen very quickly is today we have a card-based ticketing system. We purchase a card from the Delhi Metro card window. We top up some value on the card, and that card becomes my permission to travel. So I punch that card at a turnstile gate or a flap gate. It gives me permission to enter the transportation hub. And then once I've done my journey from point A to point B, I tap out that card at a similar hardware, and I'm allowed to. So, and accordingly, money is deducted. What I see really happening is, and what we are working with cities, at least 2-3 cities, we are doing a pilot today, is account-based ticketing. Now, what is different in account-based ticketing is your identity is what is your account and what is your card and what is your permission to travel. So your identity becomes your permission to travel. You tap in at an entry point, you tap out at an exit point, and all this is actually collected at a back end, and the analytics about how much fare is to be charged is done at the back end rather than at the edge where it is happening today. Today, when you tap out at the exit point of a metro, that is where exactly the money is deducted. But in account-based ticketing, it will be taken at the back end. The system will be more, what should I say, agile. It will be more efficient, in my opinion. And once we have achieved account-based ticketing largely, let's say in metros and buses and everything, we will be in a position to offer citizens something called as mobility as a service. And what exactly are my views of mobility as a service? One is you have your account-based card, you tap it, and you pay a monthly bill of it, or it could be something like Netflix, where you pay a monthly subscription fee and you are allowed to use as many modes of transport as many times as possible. The cooler things that can happen is the companies trying to promote employees using public transport, the public transportation companies tying up, giving in a lot of new offers that if you travel to your office between 9 to 5, you'll be charged 50%. All of those encouragement to take those can happen. Of course, that depends on how the network matures, how the hardware matures, and of course, how the procurement system also matures. What could be the various ways? It could be an aggregator-led system wherein typically how you create the smart cities today, you have an SI creating this infrastructure. You could have the incumbent smart city vendor doing it for you, or it could be actually what I'll be more interested to see, and I hope that happens, is the public transport authority actually takes up this project. So something like the city metro rail corporation or the municipal corporation or a similar government body comes in and says that, okay, let me aggregate these various public transport systems as well as these private transport systems and give a service. So let's see what happens. I'm very interested. I'm closely following this. And what in SAP we are trying to help, as I told, we were working with a few cities. We are doing pilots and everything. Is today, if you look at, and the above orange part is the traditional scenario that is happening today, is the customer, or the citizen, if he has to take multiple modes of transport, as in he has to walk from his house to a bus stop or an auto stand, or even probably cycle, then he has to get on the metro station, then from the metro station to cover the last mile, he has to probably again change his mode of transportation. So there's various modes between the first mile and the last mile and the entire journey. He has to purchase multiple tickets. Any delay or anything is on account of the citizen because there are all disintegrated systems. Customer service is not best of the quality. What we are really trying to help and work with our customers today are where everything is centralized in a probably a mobile app or something, because mobile is the best way to penetrate in the urban bodies that we have or the urban setups that we have. Also, give the same consistent quality of service that probably the citizen is very used to when he's buying stuff from Amazon or he's booking a cab from Uber or something like that. And all the systems at the back end also are integrated in a manner so that the citizen gets some things like world-class service. And once the citizen gets world-class service, he's really encouraged to use public transport. He's really encouraged to use this particular offering from the city. So that is what we are helping cities out with. And of course, the mega dream or the mega idea is that once you are applied this concept in an urban setup, you actually can recreate this concept once someone is traveling from one urban location to another urban location. So right from when you start your journey to catch a 6 o'clock flight in the morning from your house in Delhi, do some work in Bombay, land in Bombay, whatever, do your meetings, and again come back to your house in Delhi. It can all be done in a very seamless process. Of course, this will take a lot of time, but I'm really interested to see how mobility as a service comes into India and everything. And as I told you, I think it is the most basic requirement of a city. I'm happy to engage more in the discussion. I won't take any more of the time. Thank you, Mr. Naveen, for allowing me to speak and open the session.
Thank you, Aninder, for your insights about how SAP is helping the cities and the industry to make transport and mobility very efficient. Now, I'd like to call upon Vivek Ogra to put forth his insights about this particular topic. Over to you.
Thank you, Naveenji. Very insightful presentation by Anando, and I completely agree with the kind of changes that we are seeing in the transportation landscape in the cities. And I appreciate the sentence by Naveenji saying rather than transport, let's focus on mobility. I think that's a very inclusive statement, and that's what is required in the cities today. So I come from the background of transportation technology in cities and have implemented, helped cities implement several such systems for different kind of operating environments. So my take is very simple that today uh, there are the two things which are very important and central to this transformation as far as mobility in cities is concerned. It is accessibility and availability at the core of it. Now, when we are looking at mobility as a transformation need rather than transport, the first thing that one needs to do is have citizen at the center of this transformation. Only then we will have a holistic view of how cities have to transform to be able to provide meaningful mobility opportunities to everyone and anyone. See, what has happened in past is we've had thinking around vehicles, and then the travel lines were decided. This is how the buses are going to operate. There are routes which have been decided. So people have to align their travel along these travel lines. But today, if we have to talk about mobility as the transformative function for cities in many ways, it is citizen who should choose how to travel, when to travel, where to travel. And that's where mobility as a service plays a pivotal role, not just in providing accessible mobility platform, but also allowing people to travel more efficiently, allowing everyone to travel with their choice and not by the choice thrown upon them. So with that, I think, from the technology perspective, there are several things that need to be looked at from the city perspective. If you really look at what is city's objective as far as public transport is concerned, it is basically at the core of it is sustainability. That environment sustainability has to be there. We deliver more with less. We should spend less on roads, more on quality of life. All of this is interconnected, and transport is in the middle of it. So when we are doing a transformation as far as the mobility function is concerned in cities, there are three things that are very important to look at. One is the business function of the mobility. Second is the technology function that is going to drive and deliver business objectives with experience at the core of it. Because the unless and until we change the experience of mobility, we will not be able to really reach where we want to reach in our cities with respect to safety, accessibility, availability, modal shift. Why would somebody move from a private mode to a public mode? Only when it is accessible, it's available, it is safe to operate, and it is affordable. Very important in Indian context. We have a diversified socioeconomic profile, and hence transportation opportunities have to be built for everyone. So we are today helping several cities in India to really transform holistically. When it comes to holistic transformation, it's not just about the transport operators. It's also equally important how well have we aligned pedestrian infrastructure, how well are we aligning space for them, because walking is part of the mobility infrastructure. How is a walk mile connected to the motorized and non-motorized transport within the city? Do we have a viable first mile, last mile opportunity getting created in the cities? And all of this will make sense when a technology drives the accessibility part of it. That's where Anando said that the mobility mobile platforms are predominantly bringing a very different kind of opportunity. Now, I would like to say, while we're saying mobile platforms bring an opportunity, it's also important to look at, should we always say integrate, 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 or should we create a common specification pool wherein people collaborate, and hence integration is an outcome. What I really mean to say is there has to be a common specification basis of which different operators, different services can interop with each other. See, today we have got NCMC being implemented in the country as part of a national common mobility, payment network or a payment system. Now, the genesis of the system is you have a NCMC platform, you can travel anywhere in the public transport in the country. And that's a transformation that is required from the digital perspective, from the perspective of people being able to pull up their own choices. Now, when we look at that, that is also a capability being developed to ensure that people are collaborating. See, the moment that you're going to interrupt your payments, collaboration is the next natural that's going to happen. So I I believe technology has to play a very, very pivotal role, but it is very important to see how you apply technology in the context of the cities. There's one common mistake that is I mean, we see that we apply one solution to every city. Every city has a different DNA. It has a different capacity to be able to deliver on those requirements. It has a different financial capability, and hence I think it's very important to look at city by its context and apply technology as it would deliver for that city. That is one. Second is that you need to look at what is going to be very important in future. For example, if we're talking about electric transformation happening in the cities, so telemetry being the central of this transformation, because unless you understand the operations environment around electric vehicle, you will not be able to sweat the vehicle right, because electric, one of the most important thing is that your vehicle has to be operating on the road as much of time as possible. And hence, how do you harvest telemetry within your current context of ITMS in the cities? How does ICE engine and electric vehicle coexist and cooperate and deliver meaningfully for the cities? That's probably a very important discourse that has to happen in cities. And merely having an ITMS is not going to solve the cities. I think I would end by saying accessibility, availability, and connectivity with customer at the core of this transformation is the way to go in cities, and technology can play its role of delivering the promises that we make to our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. The key points I'd like to highlight it's more about accessibility, availability, and affordability, and the freedom of choice. And again, you have connected this with the environmental sustainability, which is very important aspect at this moment. And another important aspect is the walking, basically. So
Yes.
what we've seen as a uh, in the urban planner and the urban designer, so walking needs to be very integrated in the mobility,
Absolutely.
and the infrastructure needs to be created within the even I'm trying within my city under the smart city mission to create a walking infrastructure which is safe and integrated and well connected. And at the same time, your take on applied technology in the local context is also so well point well taken. Hope we'll have a meaningful discourse in future. Now I'd like to call upon Madam Iti Pandey to put forth her insights about this post.
Thank you, Mr. Naveen. I would like to start my conversation by quoting Vivek ji, who said that, the citizen is the center of all kinds of developments which are taking place. And also the fact that the socio-economic condition of that person who is coming to us as a major transporter, that is the first outlook that we should keep in mind. Having said that, we are talking about smart cities, but in the beginning, I just like to give you a feel of what railways is going through in the present circumstances in the COVID-19 times. So from the 1st of May till the 1st of July, we've run about, I'm talking of my central railway. If you take for Indian Railways as a whole, 5,000 odd Shramik specials carrying about 80 lakh all odd migrants from one part of the country to the other. If you come to Maharashtra, the number of trains comes to around 840, out of which 72%, around 600 has been done by the Central Railway, where I am right now the Chief Commercial Manager for passenger services. And the experience has been mind-boggling, and it has come to a kind of a conclusion where the modes of ticketing that we have employed, the kind of stations that we have are no longer the solutions for the future. Now, what Shramik threw to the railways was a period of uncertainty, because from the 24th of March, there was a complete lockdown, and suddenly on the 1st of May, we were asked, giving less than 12 hours of preparation, to start running Shramik specials. And on a particular date, which is the 26th or the 27th of May, on that day, we have run 80 Shramik specials only from Bombay VT station, which has put us under a tremendous kind of pressure. Now, how the Shramiks have operated? The state government used to come up with a list of people having a clearance, a medical clearance. They used to have an Aadhaar card. Those were got into sanitized buses. And once they reached our station, they were meant to go through thermal screening. And then tickets were given to each one of them, and they were meant to board the train. The second part was taken care by the railways. The first part was done by the state authorities. But unfortunately, because of the uncertainty of the times, there was a lack of planning. So lack of planning resulted in haphazard timings for the trains, resulting in bunching of the trains at various locations, various stations, since most of the migrants were traveling from the major metropolitan cities to the states of UP and Bihar. So out of the 840 Shramiks that we have run, 50% has gone to UP, 25% to Bihar, and about 6% to West Bengal. Getting clearances from the destination stations was a problem. And then on top of it, we had the Ministry of Home Affairs, which kept on changing its rules for implementation. So first, the trains were traveling from one end to another with no boarding in between. And then suddenly the 500-kilometer rule came. And then after that, you could carry the train was going to 2 destinations. So making the list of the passengers, providing them with the services, came as a challenge to the railways. Lack of list availability, no opportunity of communication with the destination station. no clearances given by the state government, no one nodal officer to whom we could talk and sort out issues. Everybody was groping in the dark. Come on to the railway side. The challenge of providing a rake. All coach availability had to be managed. You can imagine that if 80 trains are leaving one station, what about the other stations on Western Railway also, where trains were departing at the same speed? These challenges which were thrown up to us made us realize that the traditional system of ticketing that we have been following cannot continue. Of course, it's a paradox that we are talking about smart cities and governance, where we had to evacuate a whole slum, which is Dharavi, in a matter of one day, which was the 26th and the 27th of May. And how this evacuation was planned without informing the railway authorities also was a challenge. No matter what the limitations which were present there, and suddenly a change in policy that earlier the migrants were paying for the tickets and then the governments came to play a role. Now here, what Anando has mentioned and Vivekji too, they have come up with a common mobility card concept. A common mobility card concept is a thought process which has been with the railways for the last 3 years. Mumbai Metropolitan Development Authority has come up with the concept of integrated ticketing, which is yet to be implemented. In fact, tenders had been given out and Pricewaterhouse was involved in that process. But somehow the tenders couldn't be finalized because railways could not come up with a definite plan. Now, if you look at Mumbai Railways, we are not only talking about mainline trains traveling from one state to another, we are also looking at the suburban system. Now, suburban system in Mumbai is the largest suburban system of the world, carrying about 80 lakh passengers a day. If you talk about technology, we have already made a UTS app mobile available for the use of suburban passengers, which has been there for the last 4 to 5 years. But unfortunately, the number of users in these 5 years has reached a maximum of about, say, 1 lakh per day. So not even a 0.5% of the population is actually using this app. The app is very passenger friendly. It has got a railway wallet, but you can do internet banking on it too. Now, what is it that prevents people from using the UTS app mobile? Now, like Vivekji had said, that, the socio-economic standards of the people affect the kind of transport that they are going to use and what is the concept of mobility for them. So if you look at the suburban system, 80% of my passengers are those who are traveling to their offices on a daily basis. So they are season ticket holders. Now, season ticket holders, you have monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly and yearly passes which are available. Now, if these can be converted permanently, and this needs to be like a policy decision. So technology with a government decision of shifting all passengers to a kind of a mobility card, which then gets recharged once a year, maybe twice a year. But then that kind of money availability has to be given by the employee to the employers who are traveling on a regular basis. If this kind of money is made available to the passenger, then 80% of my passengers will automatically shift to a mobile app, which will make it very convenient for them not to come to the booking offices. Why does this become very important? Because we have now a post-COVID-19, we cannot have that footfall which we were expecting and were able to manage earlier. Like, for example, at a station like Churchgate, we have about 14 to 15 lakh passengers during the course of a day at peak time. VT, you have about 24 lakh passengers a day during the course of a peak time. Now, is that the kind of crowd that we really want to manage? And the answer, of course, is a big no. Now, what we need is flap kind of barricades, people tapping in, people tapping out. The mobility card, which Vivekji has talked about, and even Anando has mentioned, that card can be a top-up card also, because there has to be a stream of accounts management for the people who are using it. We all know that the socio-economic conditions of our passengers make them liable to cheat the system. And let's just face it, no matter how technologically advanced we become, there is always a loophole and a scope to do this kind of stuff. Like, we were not aware, but season tickets were being replicated and duplicated in the present system also, where it is being issued by a computerized system. So one, we need a common mobility app, for which is already in existence, but we need to popularize it through means of communication. The second part is the integrated mobile card, which is going to come, which is going to be an MCMC card issued by the government of India, and which can be extended as a means of transport for seamless travel between suburban, the best services, which are the bus services, which is being provided by the MMRDA. And then we have, of course, the metro system, which is also coming up in the city. And then we have waterways also. So we have the Sagar Setu also coming up. So if you come to Mumbai now, the Marine Drive is all drilled up, ready to take these small ships which will enter the Marine Drive area, bringing people from the suburban area to South Mumbai, where most of the big offices have been located. Having said these two things, we need another systemic change, which is that we have a vast data of the passengers who are coming to the railways. I don't think that any other government organization can have the amount of data we have in terms of passengers, their socio-economic profile, their demographic status, and of course their work profile. With that kind of data, we can do a demarcation of the kind of service which the private operators will be willing to provide the passengers. It's not necessary that when we integrate, then railway has to be the focus of transport. In fact, contrary to this, we need to have a system where we devolute the number of passengers which are traditionally coming to the railways. So that requires a kind of a behavioral change. And now it has started, because we are running a very limited amount of service, and the state governments have started using a QR code system for the identification of the passengers. This brings me to the main part of change that we are introducing now on Central Railway, where all tickets are going to carry a QR code. The QR code will help us in checking a ticket from a distance. So we are going to maintain a social distance. The passenger can board the train. His details are with us. We can always find out from which part of the city to which part of the city the passenger is moving. Along with this, we are also going to be using the OCR technology. In the OCR technology, we are going to be using an optical app, which is going to read the details of the mainline tickets. Again, there will be no passenger-to-passenger interaction. We are making our stations post-COVID-19 more friendly while maintaining social distance by providing with kiosks. And this has happened at a number of stations, and this is going to multiply, where you can get your mask, your sanitizers, as well as your bedding, which you don't have to use and take from the railways at all, and which will dispense away with reuse of these beddings, which was again a very big health hazard and was normally going on for a very long time on the Indian railway system. Now, these kiosks are going to be automatically manned. We are also going to provide with thermal screening, which are going to be, again, an automatic system. So the need of the hour is that from a very manual intensive system of working, we are going to now shift towards a more technologically advanced ticketing system, journey experience, checking system also. Now let us come to the food part of it. For the Shramiks, we have dispensed about 23 lakh meals on Central Railway alone, but it has not got us a very good feedback. Reason being, first, the state governments were responsible for the first 12 hours of the journey, and later on it came to be in the railway's hand. So we started distributing water and PAD items, but it has now made us realize that in the long run, we cannot have those open food items which were readily available at railway stations. And so a policy needs to be put in place where only PAD items will be sold, where passengers have to make good that you are going to start a journey of say 24 hours. So your availability is going to be of water and packaged food, which will be available through a kiosk in all trains. These are the future developments that we are looking forward. I think that should be all that I want to speak about. Thank you so much for listening to what we are doing in the present system. And although railway does need a lot of change, and we are going in for solar panels and bringing in all that electric changes that we have to make. And by 2030, we are saying that our carbon emissions are going to be zero. We are going to use solar energy and we are going to use wind energy, but that requires a lot of investments. So I don't know where the money is going to come from, but we have made a start.
Thank you, madam. Your key takeaway points, which I have just assimilated. It's like you have brought in the socio-economic aspect of the users and systemic change where incoming data and railway has to be the focus of transport, and your post-COVID plans, which railway has planned for providing a very seamless travel infrastructure or accessibility to the users in the Indian context, where we cannot even imagine the kind of people you have moved during this COVID period. I mean, it still is on, but that 5,000 kilometers express is really appreciated and recognized effort meant by the railway. And now I like to call upon Madam Nikita Power to share insights about this topic, or the Health Department, which like Transport Department of Andaman Nicobar Island. Over to you,
Thank you so
madam.
much. Thank you so much. I would like to speak on two components, two kind of initiatives that we have introduced here in Andaman and Nicobar. One is to make the daily transit and daily commute more comfortable and more approachable. The second component is the green mode. I'll first speak about how we have tried to make the daily commute more comfortable for our passengers. The first thing that we have done is we have introduced mini AC shuttle buses, which act not only as a more comfortable mode of transportation, but they also act as last mile connectivity for our passengers, because in the congested and small roads where our medium and big buses cannot go, these act as a lifeline for those people as end-to-end mile connectivity. These buses have been very popular with our commuters, and there is demand for more and more. Presently, we have 22 such buses running in Port Blair and Swaraj Street, and our commuters are constantly demanding for more. So we'll be introducing more such buses in future. These buses are equipped with GPS-based vehicle location tracking systems, panic button passenger information systems. So these are high on the technology component. Apart from this, we are when we talk about GPS-based vehicle location tracking system, we have also made it mandatory all our buses here, all the public transportation buses, both private and public. And we are taking initiative from the STS first to make 100% of our buses GPS equipped. And in the second phase, we are going for the private buses. Apart from this, one big thing that we have done, we have initiated, is that we are introducing 40 AC electric buses. 20 of them we have an agreement with NTPC directly from our department, and 20 of them we are procuring under the Smart City project that has been started for Port Blair City. And again, these buses will also have the same features such as panic buttons, passenger information system, and GPS-based monitoring. Apart from this, we are also working on developing user-friendly bus kiosks, bus stops, kiosks, where we are providing drinking water facilities, we are providing small eateries, mobile charging points. So basically, we are trying to make the waiting time that passengers have to spend at the bus stops easier for them, more comfortable for them. So we have plans to construct these smart bus queue shelters. 24 are going to be constructed hopefully by the end of this year, and 55 plus more such bus stops are coming up after that. Apart from that, we are also working on an integrated ticketing system where the commuters have the facility for purchasing common tickets for end-to-end connectivity, where they can, let's avail a bus service, then go on to a boat or ship, and then get to their destination on a single integrated ticket. Bus port facilities are also to be introduced under the Smart City project, which will also help us in a big way, because presently there is no bus port facility available here in Port. Then I would like to speak at length about the green mobility initiatives that we have started here over the last year and a half. First is we have framed our electric vehicle policy, wherein we have provided a lot of initial support and a lot of exemptions for people who want to switch from diesel and petrol-based vehicles onto these electric vehicles. And our draft EV policy is at the stakeholder consultation stage, and hopefully very soon we will notify the policy. Under this policy, we have provided all kinds of exemptions for electric vehicles, such as waiver of parking charges, such as exemption of road tax, and many other such benefits we are giving, so that people are motivated and they move towards this green mobility segment. Apart from this, the first thing that we have done is we have started introducing electric cars. You won't believe, most of our senior officers, secretary level, commissioner level, are using these electric cars, and this is a way of not only leading from the front, but also of making people comfortable with the idea of electric cars, because generally general public has all kinds of apprehensions. So presently 72 e-cars have been introduced in various departments and in the secretariat for officers as well as other department employees. So these cars we are successfully operating, and we have proper charging infrastructure for these cars. We are also working at in future augmenting our charging infra, and we are in touch with the Power Ministry for that. Like I already spoke, we are in the process of having 40 AC electric buses introduced here. And once we have these 40 buses, I think a major chunk of our mobility will be in terms of e-mobility, especially the public transportation segment. Then our aim is not only to restrict it to public transportation segment, we are moving towards segment-wide introduction of e-mobility. So we have introduced electric autos, we have introduced electric two-wheelers, we have also experimented with the e-rickshaws. All this we have been doing, and one way of promoting e-mobility, especially in two-wheeler segment, what we have done is we have made the electric cars, electric two-wheelers mandatory for our rent a bike scheme. There is this rent a bike scheme where it is especially for the tourists. They can rent a bike or a scooty and go around the city, and it is very popular, especially in islands like Swaraj Dweep and Shahid Dweep, which are our key tourism oriented segments. So there we have made it mandatory that any commercial vehicle has to be e-vehicle in these islands, Swaraj Dweep and Shahid Dweep. Further, under the rent a motorcycle or rent a bike scheme, all two-wheelers have to be e-bikes or e-scooters from going ahead. So that is one big leap that we have taken, and we hope to reduce the diesel and petrol footprint of our day-to-day mobility, not only for the general public of Andamans, but also for the tourists. And apart from that, we are also, like I spoke, we are also working on augmenting the infrastructure for charging of these. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes.
So, like I said, we are also simultaneously working on enhancing the infrastructure facilities, which is, I think, one of the biggest challenges when large-scale e-mobility is introduced in the islands. So that is something that we are working on along with Ministry of Power and Ministry of Heavy Industries to set up these charging infra. And as far as e-cars are concerned, we have, like I spoke, about 72 e-cars. We are further enhancing the share of e-mobility vehicles in our government fleet, and we expect to, in the next 5 years, replace all vehicles for the officers and the departments to be replace petrol and diesel based vehicles and bring in e-cars. So those are some of the initiatives that we are taking, and we are very hopeful that had this COVID-19 outbreak had not happened, some of them would have started bearing fruit by now. But hopefully, by the end of this year, we will be having good results, and we will be seeing a lot of de-dieselization happening, not only as an initiative of the department, but also within the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your presentations or your information which you have provided. Your key points actually, it was very interesting to know that all the entire initiatives of the government and from your end is e-mobility initiative, and even it is further required to know that most of the public servants up to the rank of the deputy commissioners, they are using the e-car, which is very very interesting and new thing to know about the Indian government setup. And another important aspect was the last mile connectivity, is also, of course, we all in the Indian support, all these platform, transport planning platform. We talk about the last mile connectivity. We always take the examples of the, you know, Siva and other BRT uh, projects. But we'll be more interested, in future regarding, the south of the last mile connectivity, which is the intersection of the travel bus. And some of us would also like to know actually how these are everything your initiative is integrated to ITNS, or whether it's centralized or whether it's decentralized, whether there are the silos there. So maybe if we get more time at the end of this course, we'd like to hear from you more. Now I like to follow up on Mr. Chetan Nandani, as I can see, uh, about his inputs regarding this topic. Chetan. Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Chetan? Hello, Mr. Chetan.
I think so. Chetanji is not being able to hear us.
Now I can
Can you hear? Okay.
Yeah, now. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. Good afternoon, seniors. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Rajkot is a smart city since last 2 years. During smart city consultation process, when we were preparing the smart city plan, two things emerged in the city. One was scarcity of water, and another thing was heavy congestion in traffic. So we plan to address the water issue through Amrut scheme and traffic through smart city. So under PAN city, we have included ITMS. This is, we assume, is one of the very important outcome-based project. At present, we have installed about 25 signals in the city, and they have been made operational, and they have been put in learning phase. What we have been told is the machines will need 6 months to learn the traffic patterns during the part of the day when there is a dense traffic, when there is lesser traffic, and probably after 6 months, the signals will start operating on their own. Along with that, we have put additional access control systems for our BRTS bus stops. We have also put public information systems on our BRTS bus stops. We have put even public addresses systems on our BRTS bus stops. A point I would like to add, though it is out of context, is people are talking of transit-oriented development. Probably Rajkot, we have really done it. We have a small stretch of 13.5 kilometer BRTS, but out of that we have, till now we have incurred more than 500 crore of FSI income over the course of 6 to 7 years. So this is something which we have already done. Regarding ITMS, probably I think once the machine learning is over, probably we'll get the data, and probably out of that data, probably we'll be able to plan the traffic of the city in a better way. And this is a joint project between Rajkot Municipal Corporation and Rajkot City Police. So even the ICCC is shared by both Municipal Corporation and the City Police. I'm done, sir. I'm done, sir. I'm done, sir.
So, thank you, Mr. Chetan. It's great to know that you already have this ITMS system is in the place, and you're in the process of actually uh, aggregating data and come up with a more robust solution after once you have the data and process it. So we'd like to know more about your BRTR and the ridership, whether it's increasing over the period of time, and what kind of the kind of people they're actually using the BRTS system, and or its penetration within the city, or how much is what kind of population is getting to. Maybe at the end of the session, if we get more time, we'll do that.
Yes,
So
sir.
now I'd like to pass on to Mr. Mubashir then from JNK, and please Mubashir.
Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to all senior officers and management of GSCC who have given me a chance to speak on the issue. Srinagar has a different topography and we have hilly terrains. So my point is very clear regarding transport is we have to do travel demand estimation first. I don't think Srinagar has done a clear-cut travel demand estimation till date. So we did a little bit of survey last year, wherein we found that 80% of the commuters still use public transport. We have almost in Srinagar city, we have almost 1,60,000 seats available per day for city operations, having a different service mix. But actual demand is more than that. So it leads to overloading, and most of the times it leads to accidents. That's my number one point to strengthen public transport. We have a very good organization, JKSRTC, STU, who have worked since decades. I think they are the backbone of development in our state. So for now, as of now, they are running 20 electric buses. And I request by way of this medium that SRTC should be given a chance to strengthen public transport by strengthening their depots in all nook and corner of the state, as it was like 30 years before. Number one. Number two, the man behind the wheel. I usually focus on the man behind the wheel, driver. We have not done too much to appreciate the work of a driver that he has done for our country or as a state or as a UT. So, as a smart city project, I would request that something for the driver, the man behind the wheel, should be done, and regular trainings and encouragements should be there. Number two. Number three, walkability index. I don't think we have conducted walkability index of cities. So we, as a smart city Srinagar project, we have improved almost 20-25 kilometers of pedestrian walkways. Uh, we are blessed with waterways. It would be nice. We are working on that project, waterways, inland transport, which had been lastly one of the components of the transport. Now we are witnessing urbanization, and due to urbanization, we are witnessing huge influx of people coming to the urban areas for want of jobs. So that creates a chaos. There is no clarity in that as to how we tackle that. There is effective land policy should be there. Uh, well, I'd like to add here that every intervention which we do in this project should be research based. That's my request. It should be research based. Suppose we are making flyover. We have to think, is there a research policy? Is there a clear cut research that we are making flyovers, or we intend to make more flyovers for a place which has a topography like Srinagar. This is my request. Number two, I would like that cycling as an option of NMT, non-motorized transport, should be encouraged. During these pandemic days, I have witnessed there's a huge growth in number of cyclists who cycle in the morning and evening. So even I wrote a little bit of an article on it, that is coronavirus an opportunity for us to, or for the urban planners to revisit their decisions. Uh, that's I want to put like this. We are doing good as a smart city project. I hope that Srinagar would come as a beautiful smart city with its culture and heritage put in place. We should not be demolished on the cost of smart city project. We are doing good, sir. Just these two, three things, that we intend to improve public transportation. Number of buses should increase. I believe that one of the research papers I have read is that almost 30% of the given population, we should have seats available. We don't have metro as of now. That is one of the projects that would come up, and inshallah, it would be a boon for the Srinagar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mubasi. The first thing that emerged from from this discourse was basically you have highlighted the importance of or significance of the research based uh,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
decision making while finalizing the project or road infrastructure. It's
Right,
very important for us to understand that your city must have a mobility plan which
right, sir.
must out of the of the rigorous the survey method, like you do origin destination survey, travel demand survey, model split, and intersection what we call intersection analysis. Those kind of aspects needs to be there. Then only we'll be able to create a infrastructure which is suitable for the city. So coming back to the point, so if we have some more time, then maybe we can just have a relook upon this discourse, and I like to put forth some of the. Actually, I'm a little bit inquisitive of some of the aspect which is put forth by the with the panelists. Like especially, I mean,
Um, I think so. We have got 10 more minutes left, Navin Rai ji. So,
so uh, if anyone would like to cross question or like to get some insights from the panelists, they can do so. Otherwise, I can take it over, or Fahim can put forth your.
no, I don't think so. We have got any questions at present. So, it's like I think so. You can conclude, then I'll speak at last.
Okay. So anyway, from this discourse, I'm actually very. It was very insightful for me actually after sitting in lockdown in my place for a very long period, and uh, especially in this context of transportation or mobility. So there is always I'm a little bit apprehensive about the fact that when Engineer Bobas talked about the metro. But I would suggest that you need to look into the city context whether you really require a metro or not. Because considering
True, sir.
your fragility of the ecosystem, Jammu and Kashmir, the locations. So I would suggest that please have a look at this, just because all the cities are adopting the metro systems because there is a project or there is a plan on the ministry as well. On the high side, but this metro, if it is required, then it is one of the most efficient system travel, infrastructure, transport infrastructure I've seen all across the world, like TfL or underground in London and the Dresden, almost all of the Europe. They have a very efficient transport system, which is what we call like even Lisbon, like simple tram system is very effective. Whereas unluckily we have ignored the transport tram system of the Kolkata, which is actually very efficient, though it's slow. At the same time, now I like to get some kind of information, if possible, from Madam Nikita Power. Actually, how are you managing the what do you call core in smartness or architecture or automation part of your what do you call it, the system which you are putting in place, like uh, travel bus, AC travel bus, where it's fitted with the GPS or panic button. So whether is a centralized center where everything is monitored, or it is in silos.
So, presently, one of the major challenges that we face here in Andamans is the issue of internet connectivity. So, presently, we do not have a centralized system or 24/7 monitoring of the tracking devices. But because right now we are at a point where the internet services have started improving, and in fact, in last couple of months, they have improved a lot as compared to previously. So now, eventually, as and when we have improved the monitoring system, and it will be under the smart city project, because in the smart city project we are having a common monitoring system for all kinds of things. So from the transport department side, we are not having a separate system as of now, but in the smart city project that will be there. So presently, why we are introducing GPS and all those things right now is so that once the internet services are sufficient and the architecture for the smart city comes in place, then we should be ready with all the other technological and technical aspects. So that is what our approach is, sir. So right now we are not having a centralized monitoring system, but we are moving in that direction.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, actually, is there any policy formulated by the administration regarding incentivizing the vehicle charging stations, or any subsidy in the power which will be consumed by the when you e-car?
So presently, the power charging stations are being set up in support with the Ministry of Power and EESL. So they are doing it right now. So we have not really privatized that segment because we do not have that much demand. But once the number of vehicles increase and general public starts moving towards e-cars and two-wheelers, then we will be moving in this direction, sir, and we will definitely be including relevant provisions in our vehicle policy. So there we have kept provisions for providing power at a low price, as well as providing other exemptions such as easy availability of land and other issues that are there. So that we have included in our policy, but we are not at a stage where we are really looking at entrepreneurs coming ahead and setting up charging stations yet.
Thanks a lot. No, I think fine.
And
This is all I have. I mean, today I like to thank all the panelists.
NTPC,
Okay, carry on, ma'am. Please
so presently, like I said, that NTPC is presently doing at 9 places, and Ministry of Power and DSL are there, and DHI is also there. So they are doing it. It is government driven right now. So entrepreneur driven, it will be perhaps at a later stage.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. Good to know that. Maybe we'll be able to see more coming out from your administration, and maybe someday when thing is over, we'll be able to visit your place. And actually, I'm more interested and more into e-mobility. This is my personal choice. However, it may be different from others. And I think fine, if you allow, then we may conclude this session.
Sure. So I would like to add few words before we end. So actually, it was a very diversified panel. If you see, we have got two representatives from Smart City, Naveen ji and Chetan ji. Then we have got two representatives from the Transport Department, Nitika ji and Mubashir Jan ji. Then we have the consultant in the form of Vivek Okra ji. We have got an industry representative, Arindam. Then from Railway, Iti Pandey ji. So it's like the kind of talk, the kind of knowledge which was shared during this panel was quite immense and learning for everyone. And it's like I'd like to commend Nitika Pawarji also, because last year in November we did an event, Smart Cities Conclave in Port Blair, and ma'am was one of the speaker there. With the kind of challenges Andaman faces as an administration and the way they function is like quite commendable, because there is a huge because it's an island this thing city. So but the problem is like it's like the challenges which they face and the way they overcome those challenges and the way they are like working into it. It's like I was present it's like I was present in Port Blair for almost a month with my team to organize this conclave. So it was quite impactful and quite it's like learning for everyone. And the way Itiji talked about the railways, the roles, and the migrants issues. So that's also something it's like we should it's like applause the way the railways had handled this situation. And same way how Rajkot has worked towards it. Then it's like Anindo gave a good presentation about mobility, where he brought in the global perspective, and it's like it was quite interesting. And also, I would like to thank my team. Basically, we were just four of us. Raman Mishra, he was like he brought all these speakers, so we had almost around 40 plus speakers from across the sector. So Raman Kumar Mishra is my government alliance person. Then we have got Farhan Khan. So he was the man behind all this technology, behind the technical. So there's no technology glitch, and everything should run smooth. Then another colleague Rashid and myself. So basically, we four of us had pulled up this 2 days conclave. And I would really like to thank you everyone to spare your time and to be a part of this interesting platform. And you have you have created a value for us, and we are honored to have you all here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.